Hi, right, so today we're going to look to add a new page to your site and to populate it using existing elements from within your site and creating some new ones. So let's go. The first thing we want to do is to add a new page. So we'll go to the W here in the top corner, click on that, and that'll open up the dashboard. Give that a couple of seconds. So down here on the left hand side is what we call the dashboard. So here we can see pages and we want to add a new page. So we'll click there and that'll bring up the new page for us. What we need to do is give this page a title. So we'll call it the Village Hall. And for now, we'll just publish it. So we'll click on the publish button. That brings up, are you ready to publish? Double checking. Yes, we are. So we'll publish. Saving it. And that page has now been saved. Now what we need to do is add this in the correct position to your navigation bar at the top. Again, to do that, we will go to the dashboard in the top left hand corner and scroll down till we see appearance. Then we want to select the menus. Now, WordPress very kindly adds the new page already to your menu. You can see here, these are your pages on your current site in this order, and the Village Hall has dropped to the bottom. That's where new pages will appear. So what we need to do is position it to where we want it to go. In this instance, we'll put it between policies and news. So you simply click and drag it up until you're happy with the position. If you see it slightly indented like that, that means that page now becomes a sub page of the policies section. Well, we don't want that. We want a page of it. We want it to be a standalone page of its own. So you just click it and drag it. You'll see some dashed lines there, and they'll sit it now. So everything's in a line, which means it'll be a standalone page. So we'll save that menu. Wait for that to save. Menu saved, and now we can click on to the WordPress training icon at the top, visit our site, and we can see that the Village Hall is now a standalone page in its own right. Click on it. Now there's your blank page waiting to be populated. Okay, so now we've created our new page, we're going to add some content to it. So we select the page, and then we go to the top and we want to edit the page. So we've editing the page. This brings up the editing window. Now, to add content to our page, we first want to add a container. Now, this is a way of putting in different content, so you can manipulate it around the page if you want to, which I'll show you later. So to do that, we're going to add a block. This brings up the block menu here, and we want to select the container. So this has added a container to our page, and to within that container, we want to put an image. So to do that, we click here. Again, this brings up our elements, which is the sort of things that we can add to our containers. And here we'll see image. So we'll click on image. This brings up this little dialog box. Now for this instance, I've already uploaded a picture to our media library. So I will go ahead and, I will go ahead and click the media library, and this is my Village Hall picture here. Now on this side you can see I've already added some alternative text, which is great for accessibility. So that's where you'll put your alt text in there, and then once you're happy with that, you can select it, and that's positioned the image, as you can see, on our page. Now as we add more containers with more content, you'll want to access this menu bar up here, the document overview, and this will show us, you can hear what we were beginning to put on our page. So for instance here, we've added our container, and click on the arrow, and within that container we've got our image. So that's great. So we want to save that, saved, and then view the page just to make sure you're happy with it. And there we can see our picture at the top of the page. And the next step will be to start adding some text and some graphics, some other pictures, and some rollover buttons. Okay, so here we are. We've created our page, so now underneath the image here, we're going to drop in a new container, only this time we're going to put a grid within the container, which means it's going to separate it into two different sized columns. So first of all, we're back to our edit page and wait for that to load. So the reason we're going to add a container with two columns in it is one on the left hand side, which would be like a 2/3 column. We will have some text, a heading and some text, and on the left hand side, on the right hand side, sorry, we'll have some rollover buttons, and these will link to different documents that might well be associated with the village hall, terms and conditions and things like that. So here we are on our page. So we need to, once again, we're going to add a container. So we click on the add block. There's our container, so we want to add the container there. Clicking on the plus sign again brings up the browser for the different block types, and in here, the search area, we want to type in the word grid. Now this is going to bring us up our grid options. We're going to select the middle one, the multi-grid option. And here you can now see this brings up lots of different options for different size grids. So the normal one, the standard container, you can see here. This will be a 2-column grid with equal size columns, 3 columns, 4 columns. Here's a 1/3, 2/3 grid. And the one we are going to select is a 2/3, 1/3 grid. So we select that, and here you can see the little dotted outline of our 2/3. And here's the dotted line of our 1/3. Now, before we start, we want to put some space in between our two columns because we don't want the content bashing right together. So in order to do that, you'll see here on the right-hand side, we've got some horizontal gaps and some vertical gapping. We don't need to worry about the vertical gapping, but the horizontal gap, that's going to give the space in between the columns. Horizontally, obviously, we can select 20. Now, I don't know if you can see that in here, but it's just giving us some space between the two different columns. So that's perfect. Now, to the left-hand column, we're going to want to add some text, like I said. So we'll highlight it, we click on it, and the first thing we'll do is add a heading. Now, the heading styles have all been preset in your original site, so you don't need to worry about the colors and the fonts or anything like that. That's already been preset. But what you can do is select the different style point sizes of headings from here. So an H2 is going to be quite a big heading size, and H4 will be slightly smaller, as you can see there. So we'll select H2 for here, and we'll call it Our Village Hall. That's perfect. So we'll save that. Now, if you can remember, up in here we've got our document overview, and as I mentioned before, shut that a minute, you can see now we're building our page, so we can see we've got two containers. The first container has our image in it, and the second container has got our grid, and within our grid we've got our two other containers. So that's this one here is our 2/3 container, and this one here, as you can see, as I roll over them, each container becomes highlighted, and this has got our heading in here. So let's just save that because we're happy with that. Now the next thing we want to do is to add some text. So that's simple. Again, we add our block, and here you can see is our paragraph. So we're going to put in some body text, so we want to use the paragraph option. So we click there. So you can input this text yourself, or if you've already got it written down, you can copy and paste it. I'm going to open up a quick lorem ipsum site, which will just give me some basic Latin text just for illustration purposes. So if you can just bear with me, I'll just grab a bit of copy that, and then I can now paste our text into our container. I can add a return and add some more text, and then we'll save that. Wait for that to save, and now we can view the page. So there we can see we've added another container, and this is our 2/3 container. As you can see here, there's no space really between the picture and the heading. Now that's because two containers don't have what we call margins. Now a margin is the space between the containers, and a padding is the space within the container, and a margin is the space outside of the container. Now let me show you what I mean by that. So we'll go to edit the page. Again, this is where our document overview panel is very useful. So here we'll select the bottom container with our text in it, and now we move to the right hand side. This is what I was just saying. This is the spacing tab. So if you look at the text on here on the left hand side, if I was to put some padding in here of say 50 pixels, you can see the text moves over within the container. So we'll get rid of that, but we're happy with the spacing there. But what we do want to do is increase the space between the picture and the heading. So to do that, we're going to our margin boxes here, and here you can see you've got top, left, right, and bottom. So at the top, we want to give it some more space. So let's put in 40 pixels, and now you can see that heading is dropped down. So you can make that 30 pixels, 50 pixels, 100 pixels, depending on how much space you want between your different containers. So we'll save that. Wait for that to save. Let's do that again. That didn't work. And there we are. I'll view the page, and there. Now you can see you've got nice space between the picture and the heading, and then the text, and there's a nice balance between everything. So it's all well spaced out. Nothing's too close to each other, and it's nice and legible. So we're going to edit the page now, and this is where we want to populate our second container. So let's click on the document overview. You see, select it. You can see it's highlighted here. No drop down arrow like this one, which has got our heading and our paragraph text in it. Here we don't have anything. So this is where I'm going to show you how we're going to go to a different part of the site and then copy certain elements and then paste it within our container. So I'll save that page, and we'll go and look to how to do that in a minute. Okay, so we've saved our page here, and now we're going to navigate to a separate page. We'll go to the finance page. Click on that, and here is the page, and that's got 3 columns of content here, of which we want to grab one of them. So to do that, we'll go to edit the page. We'll open up our document overview. We'll click on the second container because that's got our content in it. This top container has this little orange swoosh in it, and then below it we've got our grid, and if we open that up, here's our 3 containers. So to copy one of these containers, we'll click on it. You'll see there's 3 little dots in the right hand side, options. We'll click on that, and that's where we get the option to copy it. So we'll copy it. It'll confirm that it's copied down here at the bottom. Once that's done, we can navigate our way back to the Village Hall page, like so. Okay, once here, we're going to edit the page, get down to the container. It's our grid, it's our container, and now to paste our content into here, we use the keyboard. So if you're using an Apple, it'll be Command V, and if you're using a PC, it'll be Control V. So that's how you'll paste content into there. Now you can see that that's dropped down to below our text, where in fact we want it on the right hand side. Now this is because these containers are set to different widths. If you can think of the maximum width across a page is 100. So here, if you can see, our 1/3 column is set to 33%, which means if we check on this one, in order to make that work, this would be set to 66%, but you can see it's set to 75, which is why there's not enough room on this right hand side to accommodate this container, because this is 33 and this is only allowing for 25. So to fix that, we simply select the container and highlight 66%, and then you've got 66 here and 33 here, and that equates to 100. Or you can change it. This container could be 75, and then this container could be 25, and then it all equates to 100. You could make this container 50, and then you can make this container 50. That's how you can adjust the column sizes. So although you've selected a 2/3, 1/3, you can still manipulate each of the different sizes of the containers. But for now, we want to go back. We'll set this to 66, and we'll set this to 33. And now you can see that content is sitting here nicely. Now we'll save that page, and once that's saved, we'll go back and see how to rename and link our documents to these buttons. Okay, hi. So you can see I've actually gone ahead and relabeled these. Rather than waste your time watching me keying over the top, I thought I'd do it first and then just show you how easy it was to do. So simply, you can click anywhere within the text. You'll see your cursor will be flashing in there. You can double click and then it'll highlight the text, and then you can simply key over the top. So just put prices back in again, and that's as simple as now, as you can see, our useful documents here is slightly narrower than the buttons underneath it. And that's quite good because it allows me to show you how we can adjust the padding, which, if you remember, I was talking about padding with the containers and we were adjusting margins. Well, this time we can adjust the padding. So if we click anywhere in the document, it doesn't really matter, within the text, you'll see it'll bring up our spacing panel here. And if you can see here, this link is actually in black, and that means it is giving a 5 pixel padding all the way around. Now, we are not too worried about the left and right hand side padding. So by clicking this, you'll see it'll open up the panel, which allows you to individually give padding to the top, the bottom, the left, or the right. So if we want to adjust the top and the bottom, we'll just put in different values there. So we'll say 15 pixels. Now that's gone a little too deep, isn't it, there really, in comparison to the other ones. So we'll try 10 pixels. Put that in there. Now that looks much better. To my eye, they're all looking sort of equal. So we'll save that. And that is how you would adjust the padding within a container. Now, in order to link documents to these buttons, again, very simple. You just need to highlight the text, and then above it, you'll see it'll open up this little panel. Above it, you'll see this kind of chain link icon, add link. You want to click on that, and here you want to type in the name of the document that you've already uploaded, remembering, of course, to spell it correctly. Now, once you've keyed that in, this will bring up various lists down here, and in here you'll see it's got the floor plan comes up. So you want to click on that. That'll create the link to the document that's in your media file, and you always want to make sure that this open link in a new tab is turned on. That'll be the same if you're linking to a separate website, document, an image, or whatever it might be. You want to set that so it opens up in a new tab in your window. So we'll save that. Once that's saved, we'll go ahead. So we'll look at view the page out of edit mode. We can see how it's viewing now. So we can see our padding here has worked nicely. We can see as our cursor turns into a little hand over the top of it, that's actually going to link to a document. We haven't actually done these, so the arrow doesn't turn into a little hand. If we click on that, you can't actually see that, but it opens up in a new window because I'm not sharing that screen, but you'll have to trust me on that one. And that is how we link documents to our buttons and change the padding on different elements. So next, I think to finish this page off, we'll add a little selection of images to the bottom of this page. Okay, so we are now going to edit the page. Okay, so now we want to go to the bottom. We'll click anywhere at the bottom in this white space, and you'll see it brings up this little black square, which we're going to click on, and we're going to add a new container, and this is going to be the container that's going to hold our images in. Once we've added the container, let's open this up so you can see there it is, no content in there. We're going to want to add a grid. Now, before I add the grid, I'm just going to click on Browse All, and this is just to give you an idea of all the different things you can add to your containers. Now, a lot of these you won't need, but it's just useful to know that the lots of options that come within WordPress. These are latest posts. You can add social media feeds, all sorts of things in there, but again, that's just to show you what's in there. But we want to add the grid, so there's the grid. And for this instance, we're going to add 3 images, so we're going to choose the 3-column option here. Again, remember, because they're all tightly bound together, I'll leave them like that for the moment, so you can see what happens when we add the horizontal gap and when we don't. So again, I've already added the images to our media library. So just to show you how quick and easy it is to add these 3 images, we're going to click on the container. We're going to add an image. We've already uploaded it, so we can go straight to our media library. And then we'll scroll down till we find the image we all want to insert, which is going to be this one. This is going to be the kitchen area. So we can put in our alt text, just call that kitchen for now, and we'll select it. And exactly the same process, so we can add an image from our media library, and we'll show the hall from one direction, and the next picture, image, media library, and show the hall from a different area. So if I save that, and then we'll view the page, you can now see we've got our 3 images at the bottom with no horizontal gap in them, which means they're all butted up together. So we'll go and edit the page, go into our container, there's our container. I want to select the grid, and that brings up our horizontal and vertical gapping, and select 20. If you selected 60, then obviously there's more space, 80, more space again, 40, and 20. So we'll just leave it on 20. Save that, view the page, and there we have our page in its entirety. We've inserted the main picture at the top. We've inserted a 2/3, 1/3 grid, populated it with our content. We've added elements from a different part of the site and linked documents to them. We've adjusted the container settings, the padding settings, and we've inserted 3 images from our media library. And that is basically how to construct a page. And just to add more content, you could duplicate these, you can drop the elements around the page, you could put the pictures above or below, which is very simple to do just by selecting the container here. We could select this container, and here in this dialog box that brings up, you can see there's an up and down arrow. Now you can't go down the page because it's at the bottom, but you can move it up the page, and there you'll see it now. It's moved up above there, but ideally just for our page we want to put that back to normal. So we'll save that, go once again, view the page. We're happy with that, and that's basically how to construct a page, creating new and using existing elements from your site.